our community fellowship today on self accommodating for executive function. Um, so, I guess first off, we should figure out what that is. So, executive function is pretty much what your brain does to be able to do stuff, usually around tasks. So, like knowing what you have to do, but feeling like you're stuck, having a hard time planning, organizing, or finishing what you're doing, um, struggling with time management, focus, and remembering steps, or feeling overwhelmed by things that seem simple to you like everyone else. And so, for those of us that struggle with that, and usually it's people who are neurodivergent that are labeled as people that struggle with executive dysfunction, where that part of the brain just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. But it is very much that it's not just that. Um, you can have executive dysfunction because you have different things going on in your life. So, for instance, um, if you are like you have a bout of depression or a lot of stress in your life, or perhaps um, you um, just have a moment where you're like tired, you don't feel well, and just getting started doing what you need to do just doesn't happen. Like these are things that can happen and can make your executive function not work properly if you don't have some kind of neurodivergence. I struggle with it because I have autism, but I know that people with ADHD and other things also just like as a everyday thing struggle with executive function and making it work. Um, and a lot of it is stemmed in the getting started, like getting started in a task so that you can go on and complete your task. And a lot of that, there's different ways that we can go around um, helping ourselves get started with those things. I, for one, really do struggle with getting started. I get overwhelmed. That's my triggers. I look at like, excuse me, I'm still have a little bit of the flu left. But like, let's say something simple like cleaning the bathroom, right? That should be easy for people to get started to do. You know, you're supposed to do it. You just go in and do it. You don't want to do it, but you can just do it. Somebody, like maybe you're having a hard day though, and you can't get yourself started, but you have to do it. You've been putting it off maybe, or you just struggle with executive dysfunction and you can't do it. Something that I do that helps me is I do a schedule. And that's something that Paisley does really good about teaching us in class. If you take her course, she talks a lot about scheduling and different examples and types of scheduling. And what works for me as someone who deals with executive dysfunction is lists. I love lists, they're my best friend. So I break my schedule up into lists. So I have my main schedule, which is the list of everything I have to do for the day. And I try to keep it by day, though sometimes I get ambitious and do my schedule for the week, but usually I do it on a day to day basis because things happen and things change. And that's another thing that if you're struggling with your executive function and it's not working quite well, pivoting is hard. So it's best to keep things in smaller bites. And so lists help with keeping things in smaller bites. So I have like my daily schedule where I would have listed everything I need to do for the day, clean the bathroom would be on there. And then I have that broken down even further. So then I have my task of cleaning the bathroom broken down into a list of smaller bits. So then I have my clean the bathroom list where it has, wipe down the mirror and wipe down the shelves, wipe down your sink, clean the toilet, clean the shower. Depending on what time of the month, I have these uh, scale my shower head because we have hard water at my house. So having a smaller list that you can check things off will, one, if maybe you can't finish the task for whatever reason, like maybe you're sick, but it's something that you have to do. So let's say you get halfway through, you still see, and it's also easier to get through of it because you're like, oh, I'm halfway through, might as well just do the last few tasks. And you can start with the simplest tasks, like have the mirror be the first thing you do. So you have that instant, like, oh, that took like 5 minutes. Okay. Oh, that took like 10 minutes. Okay. Okay. That took like another 5 minutes. And you kind of get through it a lot quicker. But you also see it as a lot smaller task instead of one big scary task. So you can do that with everything, even like washing dishes. You can break that down into smaller tasks. And also by doing that, when it comes time to do your task, especially if you start your morning off when you have your most energy, or maybe not morning, but when you start your day. So if you start making a schedule when you start your day, then that's when your brain has the most power. Like it's fresh awake, it's ready to go. And so you make your schedule at that point so that then when you get to the bottom of your list of what you have to do, instead of trying to keep it in running memory of what you're doing, you have it written down and there's less decision making, which can also affect your executive function of that, like having to make those choices of what do I do next. So if you cut that out early on when your brain can handle it, then you don't have to. And you can also make early in the day, hey, this is, I'm not feeling well, I'm having a bad mental day, or I'm depressed today, or I just can't deal with today. But you still don't want to like wash the whole day and take an entire day off because you're going to do that later. If you do a scheduling list and you break things down smaller, then that gives you, you have things ready to go and you don't have to do the processing power in your brain, which will, again, kind of affect your executive function. And you have to remember that what works for one person doesn't work for everyone. So maybe breaking things down into smaller lists like I do might be overwhelming for you, but it might not. You kind of have to just try to figure out what works best for you. And so something else that you can do is, I know that Sharon, if you've been to community fellowship before, she sometimes hosts, or we host together. She's on here quite a bit. One of the things that she's mentioned before, she has timers, which I think is a great idea. So you can schedule yourself in little breaks so that you don't burn yourself out and you can keep going. And so you set a timer, like I have, maybe you're writing a paper glass or you're making content for one of your characters. So you give yourself like 5 or 10 minutes of work time, and then you give yourself a few minutes to break. And you can do timers for that. And you can set a timer for each task. And again, that'll help to keep your mind from overwhelming itself and having to think about the next task while you're still trying to work on that. Because a lot of executive dysfunction too is you start thinking ahead before you're there and you get overwhelmed. And so that makes you stop kind of going where you're going. Hi, everyone that just joined. We're talking about self-advocating for, sorry, not self-advocating, but self-accommodating for your executive function when you work from home or when you work in the industry. So I did lists. Lists are very good. And timers are really good. And once again, for those who just joined that are like, what is that? So executive function is the processes in your brain where you, it's based around tasks. So knowing what you have to do, but feeling like you get stuck, that's kind of an executive dysfunction. Having a hard time planning, organizing, or finishing what you're doing is also part of executive dysfunction. Struggling with time management, focus, or remembering steps. And then also feeling overwhelmed, which is what I struggle with more, by things that seem simple or easy to other people. And you have to remember that you're not lazy. It's not that you can't, like, you just don't care. It's that you can't do it. Yes, Paisley mentioned the 10 minutes straight and then you stop for 2 minutes. Yes, that's what I was trying to remember the time that she broke it up, but yes, and she sets a timer, and I think that's really excellent idea for people like that. And you can also, something that I've heard some of my friends do that have ADHD is they start badly on purpose. Like their note taking is bad. They do a rough draft. So like if they're like writing a character or writing a script for content, they'll just like write it real messy, their first draft about how they're going to do it. And then when they go back to clean it up, they can see how they're progressing and doing better, which then makes them finish the task. Um, Scroll up a little bit there. And so those are good ways to do it. Checklists, again, lists are my favorite thing. I will always push lists because they help me so much. Also, creating routines, which I know is hard for some people, but if you start your workday the same way every day, like, you get up, you go to the bathroom, you do a quick brush of your teeth or something like that, or wash your face real quick and then go eat breakfast, and just kind of do like the same, try to keep the same routine every day, will help you in the long run kind of get you going in your day. So what that does, if you start doing the same thing, repetitive thing every day, if you're have a typical brain, then that becomes routine. You stop thinking about it. That can also happen if you have a neurodivergent brain, like if you have autism or ADHD or trauma or some other kind of neurodivergence in your brain. If you repeat something enough times, the decision making gets taken away. So you might have to remember to do the thing, but then once you get started, it's the same routine every day. So for me, when I do my list, I don't have to do, like, I have to do emails for my day job every day. I have to send out emails, check if anyone's emailed, check if I have messages. I don't have to break that down like I did originally because I do it every day. So after a couple of weeks of just like writing down my checklist of, checking my voicemail, checking my inbox, checking my spam folder. Now I just do it. So I just put the one thing that I have to do and I've just put check emails, which really means just check if I have any messages from any clients that have sent me things. And so now I don't have to think about it. So it takes less brain power, which then makes the rest of my day much, much easier. And then also limit your choices. I know this is going to sound really funny, but if you limit your choices on simple little things, then the bigger things are less overwhelming. So again, let's start with the beginning of your day. Your breakfast, something as simple as your breakfast can really, really, really impact your day. So like, especially if you're changing your diet. So let's say you've gone from like just grabbing a Pop-Tart to like doing something healthier, like maybe you're doing like cut fresh fruit for your breakfast or something like that. Limit your choices for your breakfast. Like maybe you have like a bigger choice for the rest of your day, but like let's say your breakfast, you have like 3 fruits that you choose from. You can either do a mix of the 3 fruits or a mix of the 2 fruits or one of the fruit. That's going to be your breakfast with maybe some yogurt. And don't have a bunch of flavors of yogurt. Just know, hey, I really like this flavor of yogurt. And it can get boring, but you can also do like what day. Like you can have it pre-planned out. Like, hey, on Mondays, I have my fruit and yogurt. On Tuesdays, I have oatmeal. On Wednesdays, I have avocado toast. So if you need more variety, you still have it pre-planned out. And you always have to remember that if you just wake up one day and like, I really don't want that, I want this other thing, that's okay. You don't have to be stringent on those choices. But if you limit them, if you make that pool smaller, your brain has to work less hard and it's easier to get through things. Because you really want to get through things. And also, if you're a perfectionist, just remember, it's that whole do it badly the first time, right? You can always come back and fix it. Just get through it, even if it's messy, and then come back and clean it up and make it perfect. Sometimes you just have to do that. And writing everything down. Stop trying to keep mental notes. Again, that eats up your brain power. That's going to affect how you make choices and how you get through your tasks. So if you're sitting there and you're like doing something and you have a thought popped up, like let's say you are working on making content. So you're recording yourself. Midway through, you're like, oh, when I go to the grocery store later today, I have to get um, a gallon of milk, right? That just pops into your head. So instead of just being like, oh, I'll just keep that in my mental note while you're doing mental work, just stop, write it down. Always have scrap paper around, have a notebook. Like Paisley has this thing, first thing she does, first day of class. And again, if you want to join class, it's really great. You learn a lot of stuff on how to work in the industry, but also you learn things like making lists and keeping notes and things like that that are very practical in everyday life. So she has, have spirals, have your spirals and have your notebook or your scrap paper. And if you're interested in the class, it's you can go to mattressactressacademy.store to check it out. And but have that notepad down and just make a note, and you don't have to have it sectioned. It's just a little note scrap. I think in if you do bullet journaling, which is also another great way to help with your executive dysfunction, they have what they call a dump page, and that's what you need. You just need a scrap piece of paper to just dump a thought on. So maybe you're working on character creation, and while you're working on your character creation, you have an idea, oh, this character, it'd be really cool if I did this content for this character. So then you have your scrap paper where you write down your character name and then whatever that thought was, and then you go back to creating your character, and you do that, and that'll keep you on task. You don't just go off and start making it before you finish creating your character. You got to create your character first, or your list of characters, and then you can go in. But if you have that note, then you can come back to it, refine that thought, and make better content, which will then make you more money. And also keep things like that, like important quick grab things, keep them visible. So have your little scrap paper, your little notepad for your notes out on your desk, easy to see, with a pen right on top, and just keep it like that out in the open, because you'll go to it quicker, and then you don't have to stop what you're doing. Also, if you have someone that you work with, so we have a lot of our students and past students, and even us, like Sharon and Paisley, and do a lot of body doubling. So they'll go into our Discord from our grind time or our Mattress Actress Academy updates, and they'll go into our Discord and body double. They'll just be like, oh, we're going to go sit in independent study if anybody wants to join while we're working. And that way you have kind of this other person that's also working alongside, kind of keeps you on task, even though you're maybe not interacting with them at all, but you know that someone is working there next to you. So you get to working and you get to doing. And also a little bit of that happens in at least grind time for sure, where people will put in, oh, I did this today, or I'm doing this right now. And it kind of gets you motivated to do what you need to do as well. And people have shared their schedules on there, their list of things they need to do. And so seeing that someone else is also doing it, and having that body double kind of doing it with you, keeps you on task and gets you to the finish line of finishing what you need to do. And then something else that works is having a work room. I'm sorry for my cat. If you can hear her, I'm so sorry. So change your environment. So let's say you work from home, but you don't have like a designated work area. And so you get distracted because maybe you're in the living room. Kind of make yourself like a little area where it's just work stuff and nothing else. So if you need to sit down and write things, like have a desk that's just for like work, school stuff and nothing else. Or if you like really feel like your house is just too many distractions and you're just writing out character ideas and writing out content scripts or things like that, go to the library, go to a restaurant with Wi-Fi, like I know Taco Bell, you can just sit in there, buy a drink and sit in there, or Starbucks or something. And just go sit in there while you do like your handwritten stuff, and you're not actually doing like your phone work. things that you can do in public, helps a lot just because it changes the environment and kind of gets your brain out of like, I have to do this in the house, and I have to do that in the house, and oh my gosh, this is a mess, and that's dusty. So if you kind of can remove yourself from that space, it can help too if you're really, really struggling. Um, and you can also pair what you're working with something that can kind of like, I listen to music, or I listen to I'm really into Law and Order. I've watched and Criminal Minds, like police procedurals. I love police procedural TV shows. I don't actually watch them. I've seen all of them, watched every episode that's out. So I just have like the old episodes playing in the background. I don't even watch them again. I don't really pay attention to them, but just having that background noise kind of helps me to get what I need to get done, because it's not silent. I'm not stuck in my own head. I know sometimes I do music too. I have different playlists that are different vibes that help out as well. So I also suggest that a lot of times too, is just like really listen to some music that you can just listen to that's not going to distract you, but kind of enhance your work. Um, some people do time blocking. I know time blocking for me, it's hit or miss. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. And that's so time blocking, when you make your schedule, instead of just doing a list, you break up your day into blocks of time. So you're like, okay, I get up at 8 in the morning and I'm going to do all these like morning tasks from 8 to 9. And then from 9 to 12, I'm going to do just these specific work tasks. And then at 12 to 1, I'm going to do lunch. And then, and you have it, your schedule blocked out by time that way. That can also help, because then it gives you something to look forward to. You can be like, okay, it's almost 12 o'clock. I'm almost done. I just need to push past these few things. I know that helps a lot of people. I get overwhelmed by it, but that's a me thing. But I know that for a lot of people, that could be very helpful to have that, like, okay, it's going to be over at this specific time, so I can just push through it. So that can also be helpful. And these are all things like, you don't have to do all of these things. You need to just keep in mind what doesn't overwhelm you, because you're trying not to overwhelm you, because that's what's going to stop you. That's what's going to cause the dysfunction, is you're going to get overwhelmed, and then you're going to be like, well, what do I do? So again, limit your choices, limit your distractions, but also like make your environment friendly to you. And finishing a task doesn't have to be scary. It could be easy or easy-ish, because you don't have to choose what you do next. That's why I like the list. It's like, okay, I've done this. Oh, I can do this. Also, some people say pair tasks with other similar tasks. So like when you're doing your list and you have like, okay, I really like, taking the dog out for a walk. So I'm going to take the dog out for a walk, put the dog up, and then I'm going to go jogging, because I like the outdoor thing. And people will do things that way, or they'll go jogging with their dogs. I know some people have dogs that are really good, go jogging with them. So you can pair your tasks that way too. For me, that's a little too much choice. I get overwhelmed with that. But for other people, it's just like, okay, well, these are similar. So if I do them together, or one right after the other, then it feels like one task instead of two little tasks. So that can also help you. Don't, like, you need to remove that, like, oh, I'm being lazy, or I'm just not good at this kind of thinking, and just be like, my body needs to rest. And you have to remember that. You have to give your body time to rest through all of this. It's not about just getting your tasks done, because if you just list a bunch of stuff and do them, you're going to burn yourself out. You don't want that either, because if you take time to rest and stop the burnout before it happens, then you're going to mess up a lot less. Because if you hit burnout takes much longer to recover from than it does to prevent. So remember, taking a few minutes to rest between tasks helps you get through them. it's productive. It's not being lazy. It's being like, no, I need to rest. Like I cleaned this shelf. I'm going to take 2 minutes to get me a drink, to go to the bathroom, and then come and do the sink in the bathroom. Back to my bathroom list I did in the beginning. So just remember that is always take time to rest. Rest is super important. And if you need to write that down in your task list of giving yourself time to rest or doing the 10 minutes blocks and then the 2-minute block of rest, do that. You have to take time to rest. Super, super important. And also, if you're having a hard day, be gentle with yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace. Let yourself be like, okay, so I worked really hard and today it's not happening. Things aren't happening. And you need to take the day off. Take the day off. You can always recoup later. Because if you push through it and you burn yourself out, then it's going to take you much, much longer. And then you're still going to feel tired and unable to do anything the following day and the day after that. So always, always remember to rest. That is highly, highly important in all of this. And always rest before you hit burnout. And I think I've given you everything I can. I definitely... Also, if saying rest is too much of a like, oh, that makes me feel like I'm not being productive, then call it a buffer, okay? So you finish your task and then you give yourself a buffer to your next task, and then you go from there. But yeah, I would say that is all the advice I can give that I can think of today. I hopefully all of that has helped you. Remember, you're not lazy. You can't do it. It's just the way that you're doing it maybe not be conducive to your state of mind at the moment. So remember to visit us at mattressactressacademy.store. Check when we're going to have our next class going. Join our Mattress Actress Academy updates group to join a lot of other people that also work hard and are getting through these things. And we will see you in the next community fellowship, which will be, let me look that up real quick. I believe that's going to be on the 26th. And that will be, we're going to be talking about thriving beyond the stigma. So that should be a really good one. I believe Paisley's going to host that one. I may be wrong. But yeah, so join us next Monday here at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be switching our times in February 2nd, our first Monday in February. We're going to be moving from 10 p.m. Central Standard Time to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Still on Monday, but we're going to switch over to a morning schedule instead of an evening schedule from here on out. If you have any questions, feel free to message us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. You'll have a great evening, and I hope this helps.